Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Well, today we're going to do a little something different than normal. Normally I'm in the metal shop doing metalworking and working on metal lathes and milling machines and what have you, but today I've actually got a wood turning project where we're going to be using the wood lathe. And I think I've had maybe one other video where I've done some wood turning on. I've done quite a bit of wood turning over the years. I really enjoy doing wood turning, but it's just not something you guys will see me do much of. And today's project is actually a project that I've been requested to do by the museum, the Georgia Museum of Agriculture. The curator out there approached me a little while ago, probably about a month or so ago, to ask if I could help with a project that they've got going on out there. And basically they are putting in a new exhibit at the museum where they're going to have old-fashioned barbershop. And this barbershop is going to be set up in one of the museum's buildings, and they'll have an exhibit there set up like a barbershop would have been set up in the early 1900s. Late 1800s, early 1900s, which is kind of the time frame of the historic village out at the Georgia Museum of Agriculture. And one of the things that they needed for the exhibit and really didn't have was a barber pole. You know, the old-fashioned barber pole you see outside of barbershops all the time. Well, back in those days, they didn't have the fancy ones that are lit up and the little part that goes around and twirls, but you got the little column with the white background and the blue and white stripe in it. That's very traditional. But the original barber poles were literally just a piece of wood that was painted to look like that. And our curator at the museum has actually found an example of an antique barber pole that she particularly liked, and I've got a picture of it here. I'll zoom you in so you can kind of see what it looks like. But this is a piece of turned wood, and she wants me to make basically as close as a copy of this as I can. So she gave me some rough dimensions on it, at least on how long she wanted it to be. I think she said 32 inches was how long she wanted it to be. I took the photograph that she sent me, and based on that length, I was able to come in here and do some scaling off the photograph and get some rough dimensions kind of for this, so I kind of have something to work off of. And I got some measurements on here, and I will be working off of that as I go. Now, well, first off, the machine that I'm using, this is just a regular wood lathe. This one here happens to be one made by the Crescent Machine Company, and it is probably 1940s vintage. I've had this wood lathe for quite some time now. I've done an awful lot of turning on it, and you know, a wood lathe really isn't nearly as complicated as a metal lathe. You've basically got a headstock, tailstock, where we got a little spur center in here. This is called turning between centers. We got a long piece in here. I do have a chuck on it, but I'm really not using the chuck for this. I just got that driving my drive center, which goes into the wood, and it's got a little spur in the center and two little fans on either side that engage into the wood, and that's what drives it. On the other end, you just have a live center, and that allows that spindle to turn. And this is a block of mahogany that I'm actually going to be using, and it's probably about 4 1/8 inch square, or maybe, excuse me, 3 1/8 inch square, because my largest diameter on here is going to be 3 inches. So it's just a little bit larger than that. And this block of mahogany actually is left over from another wood turning project that I did probably 10-something years ago for Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College. I made some stuff for them one time, and I bought some mahogany for that project, and we're basically going to be using some of that same wood for this right here. So with that, we're going to get in here and get started turning this block of wood down into a barber's pole. So the process of wood turning is very different than metal turning. Yes, you have an item spinning on the lathe, but on a metal lathe, which is what most of my viewers that regularly watch my channel are probably used to seeing me do, you have a compound that slides back and forth, very precision, very rigid, because you're cutting metal. With wood, instead of having all that, basically you do everything by hand. And to start out with, we're going to be using this tool here, which is just called a roughing gouge. And basically the way this works is you see it's kind of a half circle. It's very sharp, and you got your rest here. We're just going to rest the tool up on here and go back and forth by hand. And basically all I'm trying to do right now is just get this from being square to being round. And it usually goes fairly quickly. We'll have to move this rest because it's not long enough to do the whole thing. So we'll start down here, probably move to the center, do some more, and then move to the end and finish it up. So with that, you kind of get an idea of the tools. You'll see my technique. Let's start making this square piece round. Start by turning this lathe on. My lathe is variable speed. I have this hooked up to variable frequency drive, so I just have a little potentiometer on here. You know, quite honestly, I like running pretty much as fast as I can go on a wood lathe. And we're just going to come in here. We're going to take our roughing gouge. We'll put it on our rest. I usually start out kind of light until we get some of those corners roughed off. Right now. And I'm just going to stop it so you can kind of see what's going on. And you can see, like I said, we're just knocking those corners off. So just get this done. I don't know that I really have any suggestions or anything as to how to do this. Just get in here and start going. Lay my tool up on there, you can hear it kind of chattering. That tells me I've still got some flats in here, although we're getting close to having it round. Let's stop it and see where we're at. Alright, so we've still got a little bit of a flat on here, and again, you can kind of hear that as this is turning. So, you know, we got just a little bit of flat on all four sides, but we're getting down pretty close. All right, we are pretty much round now. I mean, it's not perfectly round. I got a little bit of a flat there. That's round. So all but just one little area. For now, we're just trying to get it round. So this is just a roughing pass. So that's actually good enough. I'm gonna just slide my steady rest out here. One thing when you put these on, move them around, you want to get it kind of as close as you can, but you don't want it to hit, obviously. So lock it down. And let's continue on. All right, we're still not quite perfectly round, but again, for what I'm doing right now, that's good enough. We'll move down to the end and finish this last little bit off. All right, mission accomplished. We have gone from a piece of square wood to a piece of round wood. This is just roughed out at this point in time. I'll have to get some measurements, but it should be just a little bit oversized from 3 inches, and we're ready to go ahead and to the next part of this, which is going to be kind of laying everything out. And when I'm doing, trying to copy something like this, I've got measurements on here, and we're going to go ahead and kind of map everything out and find our spots in here so that we can work off of it. I'll show you that process. All right, guys, so hopefully you can see this. This is what I'm working off of. And again, this is my drawing. And because this part is symmetrical, I've only got measurements on 1/2 of it. Everything over here will be exactly the same. And what I'm doing is I'm basically working off the center part, and I've got measurements for critical thicknesses in here. So I know my thickness right here in the middle. I know it on all these different points. And I also know how far it is from that center line. And what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to transfer these measurements over to my actual part and go ahead and put those measurements in there. So first thing I'm going to do is just mark it up, and then we're going to actually come in here with a tool and go to that depth, or probably just a little bit over that depth to give me a little bit of working room. I'll probably make everything initially, at least for the roughing stage, about 1/8 of an inch oversize, and then that gives me a little bit extra material to remove once I get down and start doing the final finished part. So let's go over here and I'll show you my process. I've got my center line right here, and I know I'm working off of that, and I've actually started making a couple of these. So I know that I want to be 2 inches over, so I've got a mark here 2 inches and a mark over here 2 inches off that center line. And then I need to go ahead and do 1 5/8 inches and 1 inch off of the center line as well. So I'm just going to use my tape measure here. So that's 1 5/8 inch, 5/8, and then I want to do one at 1 inch. So 1 inch and 1 inch. Now to mark the lines all the way around and make it a little bit easier, we'll just come in here and we'll take our Sharpie pen. This is going to be my center line, so I'm just going to mark that where I can find that again later if I get confused with all my marks on here. Let's see, I've already got some marks out here. What is that? That is 10 1/4. Actually, you know what, I want that line to disappear. I can't make it disappear, but we'll make it disappear in a minute. But for right now, I did that before I went back and double checked some measurements. So the next one over is at 10 1/2 inches. So we'll make a line mark there. I need one at 11 1/2 inches. There. 12 inches. There. 13 1/2. There. And then finally 15 inches, which is the total length of everything. And I'm going to repeat that on the other side, and then we'll mark our marks on there. Okay. Next step here is I want to actually transfer this diameter for each one of these marks into the wood. And I've got a set of spring calipers here, and I've got a scale, and I'm going to look for each one. So in my center line, it needs to finish out at 2 7/8 inches in diameter. But again, I want it to be just a little bit oversized. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my calipers here to 3 inches. And we will turn the lathe on. I'm going to use a tool called a bidan, and it's just basically, I don't know, this probably, what is that? Piece of square. This one is about, I don't know, 3/8 inch square or so. But I'm just going to basically use this to plunge in here. At the same time, I'm going to be measuring this with my calipers, and we're just going to go until it slips over. So that's kind of my measurement right there. We're going to go to the next one, which is 3 inches. So we're going to go just a little bit over 3 by about 1/8 of an inch. I've got my caliper set. Double check my measurements here. Yep. That one. And that one. Okay. I'm going to skip over because this one right here is also 3, which is kind of the diameter that we're starting from. And that's fine. As long as I'm on 3, I'm going to get my other ones, which are out here. Hang on one second. Yeah, I need a line there. I was looking at that when I was doing it and I didn't think it was right. But no problem. I'm just going to go ahead and that one's going to be 3 inches. I don't have a line all the way around, but I can see my mark, so I'm good. That's it. And let's go all the way down here to the other end. Do this one here. And we're good. My next measurement I'm going to do is going to be 2 1/16 inches. So we're going to actually put it on about 2 1/8 inches. Again, I want to be a little bit oversized. And that's going to be this line here down here. All right, that's that. And come down to the other end. Now I had a mistake down here. I'm pretty sure it's the second line. I'm going to make sure I'm on the right line because I kind of scratched one of them out. So yeah, I'm going to go on this line here, and it's going to be the same measurement. Right there. All right, so I know this kind of looks funny right now, but trust me, this is going to make life much easier. So for example, we want to go from this large diameter right here down this small diameter, and we can just basically come in here and start going, put a straight line between these 2 points. And I know I'm fine. Same thing over here. In fact, I think that's where I'm going to start. We're going to start by doing that. So let's start over on this side. We'll do this one first. And I'm going to grab, I think I'm going to start out with a rough and gouge again. But again, this is a little bit smaller diameter than the one we were using before. But we're just trying to get material off here right now. So this is a small diameter, so we're just going to kind of Alright, I this rough taper going down to that, and I think I'm going to skip over now and just go to a flat scraper. This will kind of help me flatten it out. And that's good for right now. I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I think the next thing we're going to work on here is right past this high port. We got this deep little bead or reverse of a bead, or a cove, whatever you want to call it. And I've got my bottoms of that kind of identified where I want them on here. And I think I'm going to go ahead and kind of plow those out. And to do that, I'm going to use a spindle gouge, which is a good tool for just kind of going in and doing fine work. So let's go ahead and get the lathe rolling here. And we'll start kind of a lot of times when I'm doing work like this, instead of looking down here with the tools out, I'm actually looking up above it because I can kind of see the profile a little bit better down there than I can on the other side, on the side that I'm working in. All right, that's not bad. Let's come over here and do the same thing on the other side. Alright, I kind of like that. I'm going to get my bedan again now, and I'm just going to put a little ledge in here. I'm just eyeballing this. I think I'm going to straighten out my wrist so I can get a little bit better eyeballing measurement here. Now we're going to put a little bead up on the top of this now, and just going to kind of roll it over. Alright, it's starting to take shape here. Our center section, or really out to here and here, is kind of starting to look like the original. So we're ready to start kind of working down this end, and right now I'm going to concentrate on this little detail in here. And I got this mark right here, and this little place I've got in here is kind of the height of the highest part right here. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of knock all this down level, and then we're going to come in here and start working that detail in there. There'll be a little concave down here in the bottom. It'll come up to a little point, and then this will be a bead on the top. So anyway, you'll see as we do it. So first, let's just go ahead and knock this off. So we've got a bead up here, and I think what I want to do is kind of start out by getting my shoulder to that bead. Probably a little bit more than that. And make our bead about that wide. Alright, I'm going to get my spindle gouge, and let's see if we can kind of roll that over. Get my Badan again. And we're going to go in. Now we're going to try to turn that ball on the end. I've got a little bit larger spindle gouge I'm going to use for this, and this is kind of tricky. All right, for now I'm going to leave it like it is. We're going to basically go repeat this on the other side. I'm just roughing right now, so we got a lot of sanding and fine tuning to do toward the end. And I think I'm just going to do this other end off camera. You've seen the process. Hi guys, we are getting into the short rows here. I think I have it pretty well roughed out. I'm going to just come in here now and do a little finishing, shaping in a couple little places where I don't really like it. And then, you know, we got a couple of rough spots in here we need to smooth out. But once that's done, we'll just get in here with some sandpaper and start sanding this thing into its final shape and everything. But we're getting, it's real close. This is what we're after. All right, we're going to come in here and start sanding now. And I'm going to start out with some pretty coarse 60 grit sandpaper. I'm kind of shaping with this, you know, really still removing a good bit of material. Like on these pieces here, we're trying to get them nice and flat and at a constant taper, as well as get some of that rough area out of it. On these balls on the end, again, I'm really kind of still shaping these. Well, I've been through the grits now on this piece, and it's pretty well sanded down. Yeah, I got a few little places in it that aren't just perfect, but hey guys, this is going to be looking like an antique when we get through with it, so it's almost a little bit too nice. They're going to paint all this anyway, and you know, I think it's going to be fine for what we're after. The last thing I've got is we've got just a little bit of material on both the ends where we're driving it, and I've got to clean that up. And I'm going to come in here and kind of start out with my bedan, and I'm not going to try to take it all the way off. We're going to take this way down. And I'm going to come in here with a little scraper on the end. Tell you what, I need some support right there behind that. I think what I'm going to do is use my little small tool rest here. Now I can come back here on the back side and get that. All right, and I'm going to go to the other end, do the same thing, kind of get down as close as I can. And the last little bit we'll just cut off after we take it out. All right guys, what do you think? I think we have gotten pretty darn close. And I think that's going to suit the museum just fine. So we're going to go ahead and take this out. Again, we got a little bit on the ends, and we will clean those up outside of the lathe. So there we go. I'm very pleased with that. I'll take a little hand saw, we'll zip those off and do a little power sanding on it, and I think it'll be ready to go. So we're at pretty much the final steps now, and again, I got the little end down here where we were driving it on. This was the end that the live center was on. I'm just going to take a little dovetail saw here, and we're just going to come in here and zip those off. And I'll take a little power sander and we'll smooth that up by kind of blend it in by hand. Same thing down this end. The way they're going to be mounting this is they're actually going to have connectors on each end. It'll be up like this, so those ends won't be seen, but I am going to go ahead and I'll just sand them out again by hand. They don't have to be perfect, but that's it. One barber's pole. This will mount up on the wall outside the barber shop. They are going to paint it like we said, probably give it a kind of an antique look to the paint, have a white background, have some blue and white stripes, and I think the balls on the end will be painted gold. So anyway, that's pretty much it. A little bit of wood turning. Haven't done that in a while. It's always a lot of fun. And I always hear from my machinist friends who have used wood lathes, metal lathes, but not wood lathes, who just say, hey, that looks all foreign to me. I can't figure out how you're doing that. That doesn't look safe, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Guys, that's how you do it. I'm by no means an expert, but I am a fairly competent turner by hand on wood lathes. And here we go, one Barbers pole for the Georgia Museum of Agriculture. And with that, we'll sign off. Thanks.